Hey everyone, this is going to be my tutorial on tosses. So let's get started. I think what I'm going to go over is kind of the basics of tosses and then some like kind of cool ones to try. So just getting comfortable with one hand both ways and then switching hands, and then I'm going to go over elbow tosses or like that. And I don't know, whatever else I can think of. Okay, so what I'm gonna get started with is just the basics of tossing. Basically, you can do a toss any way that you want. Right now, my hoop is on my right hand, going to the right, and I'm just gonna practice tossing by, I have my hand in this like L shape, and what I'm gonna do is when what you want to do is kind of feel the up and down and get comfortable with that. And then on an up, I'm going to pull my hand out and let the hoop go. So what I would like you to do is just practice doing that, catching it with the other hand or catching it with the same hand. And then when you're kind of comfortable with that, or, whatever, if you want to come back to it, practice doing the other way. So just as kind of up and down, and then letting go. You want to make sure that your hand is going straight up, which I think is the problem. A lot of people beginning is that their hand might not be going straight up. And if your hand's not going straight up, or you don't let go of the hoop straight up, just like with juggling, it's gonna go crazy and it won't come back to you. I would also say practice outside too, where you can throw it up as high as you can, because it's really fun. I can't right here, but that's good for just starting out. So I'm going to practice the left hand. Just practice getting your hand in there. It doesn't have to be that perfect L. You can always open that up. What you can also practice is kind of switching hands. And really, one thing to keep in mind is momentum. So you don't have to, if you want the hoop to go really high, by all means, use a ton of strength to throw it up. But for most purposes, you don't need a ton of momentum. So say, for example, you're doing twins or something like that, you want to do one underneath your arm or whatever. You don't need you don't want a ton of momentum, you just want it to kind of pop over. So that's where this kind of up and down hand motion and getting a feel for the momentum is gonna come into play. Once you're kind of really comfortable with that, when you're switching hands, you're just kind of screwing around, I would say practice, it's kind of an underhand one. So what I'm going to do is take my right hand, and with my left hand, I'm going to kind of do this under and crossing motion. So you'll see that my arms are kind of going like this. And then when my right arm hits my left arm, I let the hoop go and it pops over. And this is good to practice if you're going to be working with two. Generally, what I do is just kind of do this crossing and then I'll let it go. You can also obviously do all of this with your left hand. Just keep in mind that the hoop has to be going towards the outside. You want it to be spinning away from the hand that you're going under. Just like that. And just feel free to experiment with hand movements, and the direction that you let the hoop go in. So say I want to kind of go this way, I can kind of spin it by pushing it this way. Really, like I always say, just experiment with everything you can think to do with different catching and momentum play and whatever. So the next one I'm going to go over is the elbow toss. So I'll start with the right hand, and I've got my little L here, and what I'm going to do is kind of cup my hand and then guide it down here. It's kind of like riding on my forefingers. Now what you want to do is keep in mind, again, momentum. You don't need a ton of it for this one particularly. You want to tuck the hoop under your elbow like this as far as you can so that the hoop is already kind of aiming to go around. And at the end here, I have it's kind of coming with my fingers, and then when it gets to here and I'm really tucking it, I kind of let it go with my fingers, and you'll see that I'm kind of just using that there. There we go. And you can kind of keep your other hand here to grab it. That'll help tremendously. You can also kind of do that and immediately grab it too. But you need to give it a little more momentum in that case so they have more time to grab it. But when I'm teaching this to people, I often recommend that you try to get the hoop to touch your the back of your arm when you're first starting out, because it'll give you a good goal. Because obviously you want to go over, but the fact is that you really need like so little momentum that it can help to kind of do that. So if you're having difficulty with throwing it too hard, try just doing that. Like really just tucking and just giving it like the littlest amount of momentum that you can. And then, you know, same goes for your left hand. Also helps to bend forward a little bit. There we go. What else? What other tosses? Oh, well, I'll show you a variation of this elbow one. I was showing you to kind of grab it with his other hand. One thing you can do is kind of send it up your other shoulder. And I've seen, I think, Tiana do this like all the time. It looks fucking cool as shit. So to do that, basically it comes down to aiming it to go up your other shoulder. So instead of just kind of flicking it over your arm, what you want to do is kind of use your thumb. What I'm doing is, so say I'll have it like this, and I'm going to guide it, and I'm going to use my thumb, I'm going to bend over, and you can either put your arm out or just let it go over your shoulder, whatever works for you, and kind of like aim it to go over the shoulder. So I think what helps me is to, if I'm concentrating and thinking about sending it between my shoulder and my neck. Yeah, so same kind of thing applies. It's really important to place it on your back with not a ton of momentum, or else you get that. So where I'm being successful, this is good because I'm learning with you guys, you really need to get your arm kind of back there. There we go. Oh, another toss, I would say, would be an under the leg toss. So this is kind of a similar situation to this arm toss, where you're kind of doing the same thing but with your leg. It's going to go under your thigh. So you just want to make sure that you're getting your arm over to the other side of your leg before you toss it over. There. So you can start it by going to the outside and then like that, but I think it's a little bit easier to kind of overhand grab and just get it under there. You can also work on tosses behind the back into those kinds of things, which kind of turn a bit into body rolls, but what you have to practice there is just being able to get your hand across. So it's the same kind of thing as where you're trying to get your hand all the way over here to come over. You need to get your hand all the way back here so it rolls over. And it's kind of a another issue of momentum. So you don't want too little, but you don't want too much either. So what I'm doing here is have it overhand, it's coming behind me, and I'm simultaneously taking my right hand, leaning back, and taking my right hand over to my other side, and getting my left arm out of the way, and then I'll grab with my right arm. My left arm. Okay, so it won't always go the way that you want it to, but You get the idea. Okay, so another idea for a toss is kind of this like behind the neck back roll toss combo thing. So similar thing as to when you're like kind of going this way, but instead you're just kind of coming like this, so, and going over the back. So you want, again, you want your hand to kind of be all the way back here already, just make it a little easier on yourself. You let it go, and then you can bring your arm around and grab this. Okay. Alright, so I hope that helped you guys, and got some new ideas for tosses, and you are totally experimenting and having fun with this and incorporating them into your flow. Okay, so enjoy, and